Hello there, ladies and gents. Welcome to Smooth Tunes, radio station number 90. And we're going to play a song for you now called Back That Thing Up by the Air Traffic Controllers. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We really need to make it a...
I like Back That Thing Up by the Air Traffic Controllers. Yeah. I was like...
We really need to make it a habit of trying to not break character, though, because I know we could do better. But,
Yeah, okay.
But sometimes laughing is
song.
just funny. Sing the song.
Air Traffic Control.
So the song starts with them singing the name of their band. That's the lyric.
We are the air traffic controllers. And it just so happens to be the same guy who owns a radio station. Back that thing up. You better back that thing up. And yes, if you don't back that thing up, then we will be sad. Girl, you're so beautiful. The way that you back that thing up. We are the air traffic controllers.
That's really good.
You're not going to give me background vocals? Back that thing up. Back that thing up. Really good work today, buddy.
I sound like sarcasm. Not sure.
It was really good. It was really great work.
That one little... That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really great. The best thing we've ever
No,
done.
your song was actually... Well, it was horrible, but it was great.
Because it was so stupid.
Yeah, it's like...
I was like, I don't even know what instrument this is on, but we're just
Like,
gonna
I
go
love
with it.
YouTube poops. Like, I was laughing out loud listening to one yesterday. Like, I was like, this is awful. You know,
Yeah.
It's so bad, it's good.
Yeah. Back that thing up. You're so beautiful that you should back that thing.
And if you don't back that thing up, we'll be sad.
I was like, I can't both play a terrible thing on this and come up with words and a voice. But that's me making excuses.
No, you put... That was very effortful. Anyway.
Effortful.
Is that a word?
I could see why it was. That is a good word to represent what it was. It was very effortful.
I don't think that's a word.
Yeah.
But there's a word that means effortful, but my brain's not quite ready yet. It's... When did you get up? An hour ago? No. That's when I picked you up. When did you get up?
Like 9:15.
Oh, that sucks. Although actually, that's when I got up. I got up at 9 also.
That sucks. I don't know why
because
it's 6%, but
sucks for you, not sucks for me. When did you go to bed? I feel like that was late.
like 2,
Yeah, that's late.
something like that.
I got to bed at like, I think it was midnight. So I got, no, it was less. It was after that, but whatever.
So yesterday, I have a topic. Yesterday, I got a wild hair, and I was like, man, the Royals are really good this year. I want to watch sports. And so I wanted to like get a streaming service so I could watch baseball if I was ever bored at my house. And so I looked into ways you could do it, and I found that ESPN Plus has the games, whatever. And I saw something about blackout, regions or whatever, and I didn't pay any attention to that. And so I bought a subscription to ESPN Plus. And then I went to go watch the Royals game because it was on. I was like, I just want to play it in the background while I'm doing my other stuff or whatever. And it said, this isn't playing in your region because of blackout, whatever. And I was like, but it's a home game. Why isn't it playing here? And then I looked up what blackout regions were, and it was basically like, oh, well, because more money, you can't watch it.
More money.
But they want you to spend money on the regional game playing like platforms or whatever. So, but I'm a smart boy, and I said, well, how would it know that if I
VPN.
I was gonna get there. You ruined my.
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me a question. I wasn't doing a good job of listening. I need to pay attention and listen.
I'm sad now because you ruined it. So the story ends with I figured out that it only determines that with your IP address. So I was like, I'll just buy a VPN. So I bought a VPN or the NordVPN or whatever. I subscribed to them so I could just get on different VPNs. And I spent like $150 yesterday so I could watch one Royals game. I was
And
like,
you go, suckers.
yeah, I really screwed them.
Yeah.
But now I have NordVPN for like 2 years.
For 2 years
Yeah.
for that one game. I wanted to watch games today. Now I have NordVPN for 2 years. I don't know what happened.
I was one of those things.
For $150 a month.
It was one of those things where once I watched the game, I was like, "This is so worth it." I was like, "I can't believe that I did that." It was one of those. That escalated quickly. Yeah. Bought a streaming service and then the VPN subscription or whatever.
I had ESPN Plus for a little bit because I had Disney Plus. I don't know if I still have it. And then I remember I wanted to get Hulu for something. It was for a show I wanted to watch. And I remembered, oh, that's right. Disney owns, or they own Hulu, and you can get Disney Bundle, which has Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So I upgraded my Disney to get Hulu, which also got me ESPN Plus as a side. I thought, oh, the Super Bowl is coming up. I could just watch the Super Bowl through that. No.
Nah.
So I was like, well, what's the point of ESPN Plus? Anyway, I ended up doing something else so we could watch the game. But that's all I know about ESPN is it sounds like you could watch stuff, but you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's for.
It's not going to be worth it in the end. They're probably going to play like maybe one in every 5 or 6 games on ESPN Plus.
It seems to just be supplementary content, like commentators talking about stuff that happened rather than like actual sports.
Or like if they don't have enough channels for the games, they'll play the extra games on ESPN Plus. Like if you wanted to watch badminton, they're not going to dedicate a network to badminton. They should though. That stuff is real. I don't know.
People don't think it's real, but they would if they actually showed it.
Yeah. You don't know the life of a badmintoner. Don't act like you know them. It's struggle. So anyway, the whole point of that was I now have NordVPN and I need to find other things to use a VPN for.
Streaming services, like I don't know if you have Netflix, but different regions have different shows. So you might want to you might want to hop. I'm sure there's a website that categorizes it and shows you what's available, but you could just hop to a different region and then check the content. It's different by region. So,
really?
You
like
get different
Hulu?
content.
I have Hulu. Maybe I could do it with that.
Hulu might work that way. I don't know. But typically with streaming services, that's one reason to get a VPN thingy.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of which, since it's kind of on topic, I've been meaning to get rid of my streaming services. I've just been too lazy, and so I continue to pay dollars a month for stuff I don't watch. I usually don't watch anything. But when you want to, when there's something you want to watch, like I watched Dexter a few months ago, which is the reason I think I got the services. I don't know. I think I'd like to remove them, but I'm just too lazy.
I don't have any except for now I have ESPN Plus and I have Hulu, but that's only because I have Sprint.
Oh, so it comes with it. That's not
Sprint
bad.
has it. It's not.
My thinking for getting rid of them is for the money. Let's just use one of them, for example, like Netflix. I think it's actually $15 a month now. Maybe it's more. It's going up. That's actually good value. That's like the price of buying a movie a month, but then you have access to at least 2. So you're getting your money's worth, theoretically, if you watch 2 movies. So probably for most people, especially for like a family where several people can use the account, absolutely, it's good value. But I don't use that value. I don't watch movies on there. So that's where I'm like, I'm actually it's not a lot of money. It's like blowing up $15 a month. I'm sure I blow that on food every day.
Yeah.
But that's something I could axe without feeling bad. But I'm so lazy. I'd rather pay money than just say cancel.
The way I do it now is I have Amazon Prime. And so if I want to watch a movie, I can just watch whatever movie I want as long as I pay like $2 or something.
Yeah, I have Amazon Prime, but I have that for shipping reasons. But there are also some movies on there sometimes. But yeah, it's convenient. I did the other day. I wanted to watch Fight Club with somebody. It wasn't streaming anywhere. I was like, well, I guess I could just rent it really quick for $2. All right.
And for me, because I probably don't watch more than one new movie in a week ever, I was like, so I could pay $20 for Netflix, or I could watch whatever I want and maybe pay like $10 total for a month.
It's weird how many pennies do you want to pinch? Because ideally, and if I wasn't lazy, I own Fight Club, but I couldn't watch it on my laptop somewhere else because I didn't have it. What you should do is I should rip all of my DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever, into digital files, have digital copies of them, which is difficult for me with a Mac and updates and whatever. And they should be on a server so they can be accessed anywhere. Like they're basically able to be accessed online. That would be optimal. I buy it once and I'm done. I can watch it anywhere, anytime. That's what I should set up. But I was like, $2 today. It's interesting because there could be arguments for and against. For example, how long would it take me to set that up? Hours. How much is my time worth? Probably more than 2 hours, or probably more than $2. Sorry. So it's kind of interesting if you want to justify it to yourself. But in the case of me paying for streaming services, I can't justify it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I learned something interesting recently. I don't know how true this is. But CDs or records, when you buy an album or when you buy a CD, you don't own that CD. What you're buying into is like a certificate that allows for you to play it. But the CD is still owned by the studio who produced it.
Sounds very familiar.
So even though technically, and this is where it gets interesting, technically they have the right, if they wanted to revoke your certificate access to that, you own the disc, but you don't own the rights to
what
to
you
play
own
it.
is like an admittance ticket.
Yes.
You have the right to access it, but it's not yours. It's like going to a park.
Yes.
You don't own the park for the day. You just are allowed to visit or use it, but it's not yours.
And then it's one of those weird situations where if something happens and the park ownership changes and you're not allowed to enter it anymore, you still have the key to get in there and no one can take the key away from you because you own it.
Right.
And so they can't stop you from listening to it, especially because it's in your house.
What you're describing, I think, is true.
Yeah.
I know that, well, it works that way for video games. If I'm thinking of it correctly, you don't own the game. You used to. You used to buy, this is your copy of the game, not anymore. Now you own essentially access to the game. The games that's exactly what happens. So there's been games that roll out, or they come out and they're awful, they're not finished. And the studio says, "Oh, we're going to update it and fix the game over time." But there've been cases where they go, let's forget this game, it's bad. We're not going to spend money on it. And then here's an example. I don't know what game it was, but the online servers, they shut them down. And it's a multiplayer only game. So you bought a multiplayer game you can't play now because they shut it off. But you still own the game you can't access anymore. They took the game away. So that's kind of how
it's weird and stupid.
Media
And it doesn't
works.
make sense. But it was interesting when I was like, no, you own it. Like it's when you buy it, that means you own it. And then
I wish.
like you own that single copy of it. But no, it's like legally, technically, they could revoke the sounds back, but they can't take your CD.
Yeah.
And they can't legally stop you from listening to it. I was like, I don't understand it exactly.
There are a lot of dumb, I don't know how I remember this. I must have seen some documentary. A lot of dumb
Legality, weird.
ownership legality things. For example, and I don't want to say things that aren't true, which is just what I think. The point is, there is a genetic strain of corn that has been engineered, and that is patented or owned because it's a creation. And so there may be two crops opposite of each other, one that has a genetically modified corn, and then spores, whatever the word is, may carry the seeds, whatever the word is, from the genetic corn, and it'll go into this other crop, and then that corn will start growing. The genetic corn will grow in someone else's crop. This crop can now get in trouble for using content that's not theirs. And they can get in big trouble. And they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It makes me feel bad when I heard about it, but dumb things like that.
Yeah, probably what it is it's like when birds come and eat a little bit and then they poop it somewhere else and then it plants. It's just like,
Or however
it's
it
just
gets
planting
there, however just
displacement.
nature,
Yeah,
pollination or whatever. You know, if you owned like a flower.
that's so dumb.
Yeah,
Like ownership is a weird thing in general.
it is.
Like let's actually bring this to
legality aside. You do
Yeah.
the moral side. It's still interesting.
Yeah,
I want moral. Is that the right word?
just like
Technically,
no, not really.
ethically, that's the right word. How ownership should work ethically is kind of
Like if
interesting.
you strip it to its bare bones skeleton, like ownership, what that's saying is this thing, like if it's land, this land is mine.
I was thinking about land too.
And then you're just gonna die in like 60 years. So it's like there's that, and then like ownership when it switches people is weird too, because like who decide? Like people have brought up the whole like technically we're in the Native Americans' land. This is their land. We're just on, and like stuff like that where it's like conquering this group and conquering this group, conquering this group. This land is probably like some, who knows whose land this was at one point in time. It was just someone's because they were like, that's mine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, so many questions.
There's a lot, but then like it's really morally interesting.
2 questions.
Because then how far back do you want to go to who technically owns this land? And at what point do you just say cut ties with all previous ownership? It's mine now, and then is that okay?
This is the question of who made God.
Yeah,
Here it is. So someone owned it before them, whatever. We go back to the beginning. The first person, no one has ever set foot on this land. The first person sets there. Does he go, this is mine? Is it his? Do you get to just say that it's yours and take it? Like, I don't know.
Technically.
So anyway, if you really want to pick at it, who knows? So for that reason, I like to think it's more, what's the word, practical, here and now. I don't concern myself with, oh man.
So it's obvious.
Like I throw something away.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking that if then I find out it's valuable. I wish that it was mine, but I acknowledge it's not. That it has changed owners. I don't know.
So it's another one of the games that people created that it gives us. There is net benefit to all of us performing and playing inside this game. It's like someone created the game of I own this, and it worked better than anybody could just build whatever wherever they want, because then people would just use it or whatever. So having ownership helped more than not having it at all. So at some point we decided we're going to play the game where we're going to say that things belong to us, and even though we can't actually justify what belonging actually is, we're going to just all pretend like it's a real thing, and that has been conducive for a couple hundred years.
And when you say pretend, I assume you're talking about before the law basically gets involved. Yeah. So what's that word for that? Is it ethics? I think it's ethics, because when you play a game like rats wrestling, that's good rat ethics. Like it's the rules before the laws come in. The ethics of ownership are very interesting. So, for example, with the corn thing, we both think it's stupid. Okay, but what would our proposed answer be? Without thinking about it too hard, it's his property, and he's not responsible for it moving over there, and you're not responsible for moving over there. It's his now. So let me try and make an argument against it. I have a ball in my yard, and the wind blows it into their yard. I think that's different because it's one of them. This is a new thing. A new thing grew. I see it's genetics. It's tough.
This is like you having millions upon millions of balls in your yard, and one of them blows into another.
But it's not even that. A new ball grew in their yard.
It's okay. Now they're gonna get balls.
I'm saying this doesn't quite compare.
Now they're gonna have balls.
Hey, you can't grow that soccer ball. That's mine.
Those are my balls. That's funny.
No, but I think I don't know. What would your proposed solution be to the corn thing?
Okay, so I don't know. I don't have one. It's too difficult.
It's really difficult.
This is the closest what would you say?
Parallel example.
Parallel, yeah, parallel. The closest parallel I could think of is intellectual property. Like someone comes up with an idea and someone copies it, and people are upset about it, and maybe rightfully, because that wasn't your original thought. And why are people upset about that? It's because it's an idea. You can't own an idea. Ideas kind of own you, and sometimes they're inspired ideas, but does it matter who first was inspired by the idea or whatever? And it obviously does to us because of the game that we play, but
I think that falls in line. So you could make the argument that no, there's nothing new under the sun. There are no original ideas. This song is very original. But it has a 4-beat measure. You're not the first person to use that. You can always pick. So if my mode of thinking is more here and now, whatever the term is, it's here now, this is fine. For example, if the corn comes across into this field, this is this field, leave it alone, it's okay. You make a new song, it's different enough. I'm not worried about, it's tenuously connected. I'm not worried about that. I think genetic, what an interesting form of property, if that's the right word. Engineering.
Yeah.
It's really the right word. Design, maybe it might
biologically
be
engineered.
Design property. Media property is the one that's really dumb right now. But anyway, I had a third part to that.
It's convoluted. It's like impossible to actually quantify by the game that people created.
But I think typically we think, typically it's, I think we're reasonable. We think we're reasonable. It's you made a new song. It not
depends.
the same. It does depend, but
I don't know why it reminded me of this, and it's not.
I got an example of one, but go ahead.
Well, to use your example first, because mine, I don't know if it has anything to do with what we're talking about. But just about rules that we don't understand. Like people are playing by so many rules now that what makes sense to one person is like, that makes total sense and is justified. Or to some people, other people look at it like, that's stupid and ridiculous. And no one can uphold that standard or whatever. I was thinking about, was it Demi Lovato? I think it was Demi Lovato, and she went into like an ice cream shop, like a small LA ice cream shop, and they didn't have low fat options. No, wait. This is what it was. They offered low fat options, and then they promoted it. They're like, we have low fat, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was Demi Lovato, got on Twitter and was like, I won't be eating here anymore, blah, blah, blah. You're promoting unhealthy such and such lifestyle. A lot of people have problems with their eating disorders. And by you promoting low-fat things, you're excluding those people and promoting injury to those people. It was something weird like that. It was like, they're trying to be inclusive. Anyway, it was like most people were kind of like me who were looking at that, and they were like, they were trying to be inclusive to people who have dietary restrictions and giving them an option to eat, and they were promoting that. And you're mad because you think that it's somehow malicious against people who have a problem with their weight image or their so in her perspective makes total sense because those are the rules she plays by, and she's very involved with it's harmful not to eat and to be told to eat low fat things or whatever because then you get too tiny and that's not healthy.
I think,
and I get it. But that's wrong because that's not what they were doing. And it's like, and how much does intent matter?
I happen to agree with you, but like you said, there's someone who will think on either end of it. And I think that boils down to you can't please everybody. Yeah. And that's why the issue of ownership and many other things is so complicated because there is no one answer that everybody would like.
Yeah.
So the thing I was going to say as an example of how weird ownership works is fair use laws. So a YouTube video, legally, they can upload a clip of a movie, right? That's owned by a studio or whatever. But as long as it's a written law. If it's edited a certain way or enough, it becomes original content.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed to use it. It's not theft anymore. So examples are poops. Come on. Yeah. Chop to hell. That's totally fair. Commentary over it. That's fair. Essentially, someone made a really good, their own subjective definition of what fair use content is. And I think he said, if you're watching this and you can't get the original message out of the film, then it's fair use because it's been changed so much. You can't watch this and you can't know what's happening in the movie. Mm-hmm. You can't derive the movie from it anymore. Yeah. You know it's about it, but you can't get it anymore. So if someone's talking over it, you're not going to be able to enjoy the movie. Whatever. Interesting. So maybe this is written down. I don't think it is, but I wonder, for example, you're going to pick extremes. Let's pick this end. How little can a movie, let's get something simple. A minute-long clip. Let's do a minute of a movie. If that was cut and uploaded, technically that's theft. Mm-hmm. It's not theirs to upload. Maybe they shouldn't care if a minute goes missing, right? But let's say that's theft. How little does it have to be edited for it to be fair use? Because that's subjective, I think. Everybody's going to pick a different number. I think 1 second of like memes over 1 minute of it, or 1 second of the minute isn't enough. So this is really just a thought exercise for fun. But what do you think? Because I'm going to say at least half. At least half has to be changed.
Well, I'm not smart enough to prescribe solutions. I have an example because like basically what we're trying to sort out here is there's obviously a line. Mm-hmm. So I have an example of one that widely everyone considered to cross the line, and it's
Which
a really
is why I picked
blatant.
half. I think most people would concede that the half weight, because we're going to be people on this end, people on this end. So let's meet here. It has to be edited at least halfway. Yeah, and then I think I got most people.
Yeah, you're interested in like finding the point, and I don't know if we can, but I know I have an okay. So there's a guy on TikTok, and he got famous because he was doing like these edits where he'd put like a background behind him and he'd do this little dance and he was like, yeah, I'll take you there. And like, it's the song or whatever. And he'd always do this little dance. And then it'd be memes and they'd be silly and people really liked his stuff. And then at some point, finally, like after months of him doing this or after a while of him doing this, a guy spoke up. He was like, look, this guy's been copying my stuff since day one. And he showed an example and he showed all the dates. Like I came up with this idea and he just took it. And they were exact copies. They were like the same thing. He found like slightly different pictures. But he did the same dance moves and did the same song. Yeah. And he did the same like little jokes with his face. And finally that finally blew up after months of him trying to say he took this one of mine too. Yeah, right. Thank goodness. And so the guy who was stealing the stuff was on live and people were like berating him and saying, dude, you can't take that's not fair. That was his idea.
Made an argument for why he can.
Yes, and he basically he sounded like such a dick doing it. He was like, "Look, guys, it's not my responsibility to improve his work for him. All I can do is do a better version of it. I'm an actor. That's what I do. And like it's not my fault if I did it better." And he sounded like such an ass. And so everybody was like, now we know that's the example of that's too far. He literally copied it and then took the credit and said, it's not my fault. He did a bad version of it. It'd be one thing. I think everybody was like, this is where I'll put my line in the sand on it, is because I think most people, the general consensus was, if you would have credited him with the idea, then we'd be fine with you copying it exactly. It's like, I got this from so-and-so. And then, or all my work is inspired by this person. It can be a little different, but it is inspired by that guy, clearly. And, you know, there's a lot of TikTokers like that.
I have a lot to say on this, and I actually have, what's the word, experience? I have a reason to say something. So, very interesting topic, ownership and stuff. So, Moto Monday. I came up with my idea of what a moto vlog should be like. So, a few things. Number one, the troll faces on them. No one had really done that yet. Not really. I should say not really, because I don't know that somebody did. The point is, it was my idea, and I wasn't influenced to do that. And I started doing that normally. So that specifically, there are other things that I do, like TF2 voices for screaming on top of animals. Specific things I came up with. And again, maybe someone else has done these things, but that's not the point. The point is, it was my idea, and I wasn't inspired by anyone. So I did that enough, and they got popular enough to where at some point to some people, that's the new standard. Mm-hmm. That's what they expect or whatever. Who cares? So there are some people who did their own moto vlogs copying the way I do it. Now, you kind of touched on this, and I've thought about it, and I don't know if I've made a decision. I know where I'm generally landing, but there's 3 levels. There's copying someone. Let's back it up here. Copying someone. Lower tier 1, everybody can agree you're okay. Copy someone and acknowledge where you got the inspiration from. We're all okay with that. We're all okay with that typically. Number 2 is the middle. Copying someone. Don't acknowledge where you got it from. Just copy it. That one, people are split. Number 3, where most people agree this is wrong, is copy it and proclaim this was your idea. Mm-hmm. Lie. That's just theft. So I've experienced all 3. Most of the time people just copy my stuff and don't say where they got it. And I tend to, that's where I want to talk about, because that's the interesting one. When people copy and they say the inspired wall terrific, cool. I'm glad you good. But then I've also had someone go, I can't remember the story, caught him red-handed, proclaiming that spam cards were his idea. No, that was the joke, though. I call my business cards spam cards. No one calls them that. That's just something I made up.
Pretty specific.
It was specific. He goes, no, I invented spam cards. I hadn't even said spam cards yet or something. Why do you hate out cards? He goes, because I invented spam cards. Like, I didn't call them. No one said spam cards. Where'd you get that name from? It was like oops. Anyway, had all 3. So the middle one, copying somebody without acknowledging where you got it from. I would obviously prefer anyone cite your sources, is what I always say, kind of as a joke, but also like genuinely. But you said that this perpetrator, theft dude, whoever that guy, he said it's not my responsibility, but more specifically, he said I'm doing a better job of it.
Yeah.
And this is where that's the crux. It's right in the middle because I am someone who's been affected by this. So you'd think I'd be on the side of, which I am to a degree, but at the same time, trying to be fair about it. And I think this is where I'm falling. If somebody does a better job of what I do, if someone made a better Moto Monday, that's good. I wish I was the one to make a better Moto Monday. But I think where I fall is if someone can do what I do or do something of mine better, great. But please give credit. If you do what I did better and don't give credit, I'm more sour than happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
There's one more factor involved in your situation, which I think is an interesting one. I'm wondering if you think it's interesting too. But like because you were you weren't the first, you weren't even the second, you were like somewhere in the fifth, sixth range as far as motovloggers go. You jumped on that train really early, so you were almost what some would consider to be a pioneer. You made it bigger than it was.
I disagree. I'm not trying to undermine you, but go ahead.
Well, you were one of the pioneers.
I was one
for
of the,
sure.
I was one of the biggest.
Right. That's what I mean. So when you become a biggest anything, you are pioneering something. You're the first to be one of the biggest in a sense.
I think I know what you mean.
So when people, and again, I'm totally with you at the whole copy thing. And if you copy, cite your sources. That's like our thing. We say that all the time. Cite your sources. But if you're the biggest one that's doing it, then for people to copy it is just copying patterns of success, which is usually
right. I can't fault them for that.
Sure. But it also, because you pioneered those ideas, people who actually aren't super creative, they're going to associate what a motovlog is those things.
That's what I meant by I set the standards for what people think motovlogging should be.
Yes. And I know it's your idea and you're the one who like started that, but like, I think you were right not to go after them for it because you're just so much. I mean, you've reaped the benefits of you being a pioneer of that anyway.
I'm not quite so pious. Is that the right word to say that I own putting meme faces on a, no, I don't. It's an idea that maybe I came up with. Like I already talked about that. People can do what I do. The issue is I even decided they could do what I do better. They could be more successful at it too.
Yeah.
But if they never credited where it came from, it'd sting a little bit. But let's pin the point a little bit tougher. Let's do the moral issue, not this subjective opinion. Say someone does what I do better, or they copy something and they don't credit me. Morally, are they obligated to? I think technically no. They're not morally obligated to.
That's some capitalistic thinking right there.
Yeah, it might be. And this is coming from somebody who could stand to lose from this. I'm trying to be fair. I think morally they don't have to. I think morally they should, as in that'd be a good thing for them to do. But no one can hold them to it. You can't get somebody in trouble for not saying, yeah, I got this idea from this guy. The issue, I think that's as close as I can get to the line. Like, it might hurt my feelings, might sting a bit if somebody copied my stuff and did better, and no one ever knew it was me. That would sting.
Yeah.
But he's okay right up until someone says, is this your idea? And he goes, yes. Now you've just fallen off the cliff.
Yep.
That's it. It's right there.
Yep. That's the precipice.
Citing your sources. That's it.
Well, basically the reason we like to cite our sources if we say something is because it absolves you of the risk of falling off that cliff for all time. Because you can copy the idea, but if you say this is from this person, no one can say anything to you. Basically, from where we stand, you're
I can't
completely
even get mad.
safe.
Like if someone did what I did way better, was super successful. I got this from Walterific. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Have fun with your success, I guess. I mean, but thank you.
And again, there would be more moral issue if you had come up with the meme faces and stuff a long time ago, and you never got big and you never made it a career.
Right.
And then someone did this and made it big and got a career, and then
I try to consider that. I think my thinking still stands. If I was small time and someone copied and got famous, it'd sting.
Yes.
But I wouldn't get mad at them until they said it was theirs.
But the difference is now that you have reaped the benefit of being the pioneer, the creator of this idea, you don't have much leg to stand on if someone else also benefits from it. You have less leg, I think, because you've benefited from it.
I have less victimhood points
Right.
if I'm robbed from.
We're all talking about the game that people created anyway. So I'm saying by the rules of everybody else they would say, well, yeah, you were the pioneer, and it is your intellectual property, right? This would be what people would consider it to be. I'm just saying, like, people will have less empathy and sympathy for when you become a victim of this type of situation where someone trying to steal intellectual property. If someone who was much smaller, like, tried to copy the spam cards idea, people would be like, oh, that's annoying and stupid and unoriginal, but they're not evil for it. You're the best one who did that kind of thing. You've already made it big.
I got a question. I already know what my answer is, so it's easy. Say I sell... Let's make it easy. Say I sell a t-shirt with a picture of my helmet logo on it for $10. Someone else takes my logo, puts it on a shirt, and sells it for $9. What do you think about them doing that?
I don't know. It's a more intellectual property stuff. I don't know.
So,
do you own the logo?
Well,
the helmet.
Do I own anything? It's my logo. I made it for my business.
Did you trademark it by chance?
Let's say I didn't. I think here's where I fall. Morally, that's shitty. It's not your design to sell. That'd be like me taking KTM. That's a bad example because they're actually like legally branded and selling my own KTM shirts. That I'm stealing from them, not because no one's not buying their shirts, because I'm selling something that's not mine. That's why I think that's a problem. Now, that's without the legal issue of actually owning the picture. What?
I remembered something.
Okay.
This is so cool because I was thinking about what you were talking about is that you're coming up with this fictional person who is capitalizing on your idea. And even though they're selling it for less, they're probably going to make more of a profit because more people will want to buy a cheaper version of the same thing.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Right. The whole point, blah, blah, blah. I've realized that took me in my mind to a conversation where we talk about there's always been people throughout history who have manipulated systems to benefit themselves and make a detriment to the systems in place. There are people who
selling a piece of toilet paper at a time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Like if there's any chinks in the armor of whatever financial gain
people
system,
will find it.
People will find it and they'll manipulate it and they will be very rich for it. And I read about an example of a guy who did this in the last like 5 years or something. So I think it was Capital One, maybe whatever the card company that gives you 3% cash back on all purchases or whatever. So this guy, he happened to go to a bank where cash advances had zero fees to them off of gift cards and credit cards. So this guy, he would go to Best Buy, he'd go to Walmart. He spent his mornings doing this every day. He'd go and he'd buy 10 gift cards with $100 on each gift card. He would then go 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, spend like, $10,000 or something on gift cards in a day. And then he'd go to the bank where the cash advances were free and he'd cash advance all the money off of those cards. He would deposit the money into his account and then he would instantly pay off the credit card at Capital One with that. And then he'd earn 3% back on that because he made a purchase off the card and paid it off right away with no extra fees involved. So over like 3-something years of doing this every day, he had gotten hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from Capital One's cash back, and he got arrested for fraud. But he did that for years, and if he would have not done that every day, then he might have gotten away with it. Man. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
that's so smart. I think that's one of the reasons that they started a lot of cash advances. Now they have a fee involved. I think it was a small town bank, and they were like, "Oh, whatever. It's not hard for us to do cash advance, whatever." And, but I think a lot of cards now have one.
Interesting.
So smart and interesting, so cool. I don't think you can buy many gift cards where cash advances are free anymore.
Typically, I think stores are wary of anyone buying gift cards in general, if it's a large quantity or large amount of money on a card.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, okay, I get how smart it is, right?
Yeah.
A really bad person can be smart. Not saying he's bad, but I'm trying to think of it from the other perspective too. Clearly, he should have been stopped, right? But at the same time, it's like I wish he had succeeded.
Yeah, it's like
and I think it's for a bad reason. It's like a Robin Hood situation. Someone's stealing from someone who has a lot of money. I mean, you want to root for the guy who has less.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any more virtuous. If a millionaire and a guy with $10. If a millionaire steals $1 from this guy with $10, he is evil millionaire. If a guy with $10 steals $1 from the millionaire, he's fine. For some reason, that's our perspective, even though morally it's the same evil.
Yeah.
So that's weird because I want to root for this guy. I'd be like, yeah, but also like, sorry. That's why the law exists, and I hope that's why it should exist.
It's the same thing as kiting. Are you familiar with kiting?
I've heard the word. What is it?
So I'm going to explain it.
I'm going to guess. Okay, here's why. Because there's a line where in Ocean's 13, one of my favorite movies, this is how it goes. I'm going to give context. I had to guess at what it means. 13 group guys running scams. One of them is posing as a waiter. He actually has a waiter job. The waiter scam guy comes to the guys and gives them food. And he goes, give me like a tip. And he's like, we pulled tips. The other guys are going to think I'm kiting. And they're like, okay, we'll give you money, even though like we're here to steal money. And we'll give you money to give to the guys, apparently. So like now I'm going to think about what that means. Kiting, I'm guessing, is taking off the top. Is that just taking for yourself, or you don't deposit it? You it's like, that's all I got. I don't know. Now I can't wait to hear what you say, because I've always wondered what that meant.
Okay. So a person opens up, I'm going to try to do the simplest method possible here. So a person opens 3 bank accounts and they gets checks for each bank account. He puts $1,000 into one bank account, and he goes to the next bank. He writes a check from the $1,000 bank account for $2,000 to the next bank, and he deposits that in there. Check systems work weird in that some banks have different policies as far as what they allow to memo post in your account. So if you have a $2,000 check, it doesn't actually pull, because the check systems is kind of an old system.
Soft
posting is what they call it.
Yeah.
So they soft post the funds into your account, and each bank has different terms that they'll allow, because sometimes it takes 3 or so days to actually manually pull the funds from a check from the checking account it's allotted to. So basically, maybe the first company knows, oh, he's got $1,000 in there. Maybe he's going to get a paycheck and this will post in there or whatever. So they deposit $2,000 and they allow instant memo post access to $2,000. That same day, he takes a check from the new $2,000 company, takes it to a third bank, deposits $2,000 there. And then he does that between all the bank accounts he has. And at some point, when you go to the first bank again, you deposit the $2,000 you've gotten there. Now, all of these banks show you have $2,000. And then you write checks from all of these banks for $30,000 to one bank, and you deposit it all. And you can make a cashier's check, and the cashier's check is essentially guaranteed funds. And because it's like, well, this is all money. He's got $2,000 everywhere.
Yeah.
So you get $30,000, you put it in a cashier's check, you send, and then he goes away, opens a new bank account with a $30,000 real cashier's check money.
Yep.
All of these accounts realize, oh, there was not enough money in any of them, and they all go negative $2,000 each is what happens. And he has bank money. That's called check kiting, and people do that. I've caught multiple people doing that when I was working as a teller.
Interesting.
In a CSR. It's really interesting and so rude.
Does it have to do with checks specifically, or is that just check kiting, or are there other forms of kiting?
There are other forms of kiting, but because check systems is the most antiquated and old system, it's the one you can get away with it the easiest. Now that people know how to do that, don't do it, because you will get found. Everybody that I caught doing that got found.
Yeah. Well, what do you think was happening in the movie when he was trying to get cash as a tip, and he was said, I'm going to get accused of kiting if I don't bring tip money? What do you think that meant?
I don't know.
Dang. I've always wondered.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I could show you the scene. I think I described it fairly okay, but I'm guessing it wouldn't help much. Maybe it would.
The idea of kiting is feigning, I have this money and I'm going to even give you it. And then look at, you have money now, when all along this wasn't actually money. This was nothing. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's giving. The idea is everyone thinks they have the money, and then they realize nobody does, because none of this hard posted. Yeah. And so you only need one victim. You only need one person not to do due diligence to actually get $30,000.
Maybe there's a pool at the end of the day that they split between the waiters, and they all have a presupposed amount that they're going to drop in.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And then so by the end of the day, he gets his cut of the tip, but he's never given into that pool because he didn't have the money to put. They just assumed he would.
Yeah, that could be it.
Maybe that's it. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a really it is interesting. One guy, the only guy we did have one guy get away, and we were one of 49 banks
I
involved.
think you told me that story.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to tell it or not?
He got away with $10 million cumulatively. And he didn't get found. He bounced, he skipped countries. I think he's on the FBI one of this, and he got us too. I think he got us for like $5,000 or something. But we were a smaller bank, and so I can't remember what it was. But
Interesting.
But yeah, he was a crafty guy. Our security department was, I can't say, it was an old bank that I don't work for anymore, so that's why I can tell the story at all. But it was so interesting because I got to learn all like how the process of them finding him was. He was up in like Wisconsin, and he was like driving around and just the checks everywhere, checks. And he had planned it out, scheduled. He had studied for months to know people's memo posting times, their crediting times, how long it takes. He went to different branches and met people and talked to them and got to be friends with these tellers. And he figured out who he could go to deposit these, who would just trust him. It was dirty. It was a lot of work, and it was very mastermind like. And you almost had to be impressed, but he got away with a lot of money. He's a very smart dude. He might have been, I thought I heard from someone that works at that bank that they did get him after all, but I don't know.
But you'll never know because you don't know his name. You don't know how to follow up on it.
I do know his name.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess you could look it up if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. It'd be cool to know how that story ends.
Yeah, I don't know. Knowing those people who kite, usually they're smart, but they don't really think. That guy was really so smart to think about all this stuff, though. And so if anybody would get away with it, he would.
Well, I was going to say, when it comes to crimes we know about, it's very hard to get away with them. Making up a new crime.
Yeah.
And smart, you're probably going to get away with it.
He basically
It's just hard to come up with new crimes. But as the technology changes, there will be new crimes. Yeah. Like, sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say he did an old crime in the best way he can. He just basically said, all right, what are the flaws of this way? Where could I get caught? And then he shored those things up.
It's like trying to do a bank robbery, which has been around for hundreds of years. Good luck. Yeah. You know, because we now have so many countermeasures as opposed to, I was thinking of the movie Catch Me If You Can. I think you know that movie.
Yep.
Whatever the fraud was called, Frank Abagnale came up with it. Check something.
It's kiting.
Specifically kiting?
Yeah. Well, he actually created checks.
But whatever the crime he was doing, he came up with it. It was a new kind of fraud until after he got caught and then others were doing it. And then he helped catch them and prevent them from doing it. Anyhow, yeah. So new technology, new crimes. Cryptocurrency is a great one. Fairly recent. And there have been crimes with cryptocurrency like theft of it. So interesting how that works.
I wish I would have jumped on Dogecoin, man. Did you see that?
Yeah, you told me all about it. Well, not all about it. You told me why you wish you had jumped on it, though.
I literally thought about it. I was like, I wonder if, because basically what happens is if you have Twitter, follow Elon Musk, because if he ever tweets about any kind of cryptocurrency, buy it right away. Because every time he tweets about a cryptocurrency, it shoots up by 500%. So you're going to make profit. Anyway, so if I ever get into that, I'm going to literally follow Elon,
I'll say this, though. I remember 5 years ago, I was thinking, I don't do stocks, but I want to buy Tesla because I think they're going to be the future. And now it's been 5 years. I'm like, damn, I would have had a lot of money right now. And you know what's annoying? If I bought Tesla today, not the company stock, I'd probably have a lot more money in 5 years. But I'm lazy.
Yeah. We should just both try it. We should make a fun game of it. Who can make the best investment with their just extra $100 cash or whatever.
I'm playing a different game. It's how much can I bitch about the things I would have done if I wasn't lazy. It's my game.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if I ever just had $300 to just put somewhere. Just throw $300 into some cryptocurrency and then just wait for Elon to tweet about it. For real, there's a pattern, and you watch what he tweets about and watch when it spikes up, and then it kind of whoa, and then it always is higher than it was. Man is single-handedly creating markets. Not only is he creating technology that's changing the world, and again, going to keep changing the world, but he's like helping poor people, which is cool.
Poor people like me and my cryptocurrency.
My friend, he had just sold his Dogecoin.
Yeah, this is what you told
3
me.
weeks before, and he said that was a $6,000 mistake because he had only bought like $20 to $100 in Dogecoin, and it was like, he goes, that was a $6,000 mistake. I can't believe that just happened. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I've had expensive mistakes. This laptop, when I closed it the other day, the cable is barely on top of it, so the screen crunch, $800 mistake.
Yeah.
I've had expensive, like losing I've lost $20 bill out of my wallet. That always stings.
Yeah.
One time, I lost $200 in cash out of my wallet.
It was probably at a time in life when you didn't have as much money too.
No, right. So it stung more, but
Yeah.
as opposed to when you have more, but especially the $20 bill when I was young, hurts. Like when you're really young, finding a quarter, wow, so much money. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, $200 straight up cash gone. That stung a bit.
Yeah.
I say a bit because I think I have a good attitude when it comes to bad things happening. It's like, it's fine. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
$800. I'm not laughing necessarily, but at least I wasn't like throwing a fit or.
I was one time walking in the park by
I have more expensive mistakes. Sorry. I was just thinking like don't forget your story. I was exiting a parking lot in my car. A lady came in my lane way too wide. I had to juke to get out of the way. Nicked my wheel. It's a $3,000 wheel. And now it's worth like less than half that. So I was like a $1,500, not mistake, but kind of a mistake. Just boop, money's gone.
Wow.
That was the most expensive mistake I can think of.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it sucked. Anyway, what was your story?
I was walking in the park by where I'm living, and I looked on the ground. There was $500 on the ground. I was like, and I looked around everywhere.
Looking for a string. Looking for somebody.
I was
looking at the pile of money. I was like,
looking for a guy behind the bush.
Yeah,
like,
it's a trick.
Yeah, for a string.
String.
I literally looked around. I was like, "Hello," and because nobody was in sight, and so I like. Okay, and I was looking around for a wallet. I was like, I don't see anything. I just see $500 and $100 bills right here. So I put it in my pocket and I kept walking. And then like maybe 20 minutes later, I'm walking back the other way and I see a person walk by and they say, "Did you happen to see money on the ground?" And I was like, and I said, "How much money?" And
Correct.
Said, $500.
Correct.
I was like, damn it.
That's just so you all listening know that you never
just give them the
the
money.
amount because that you can't verify that that's them who lost it.
I was so sad
and
though.
You shouldn't be the one to ask, "Did you lose money?"
Yeah,
but
no,
even if you
no.
did do that, then you still follow up with how much.
Yeah,
because
right.
You would never say, I found $500.
Right.
Is this yours?"
Right.
Dumbass.
That's dumb.
Don't say that. Anyway, yeah, you did that correctly, and that's why you're like,
I know, because
it means it's his.
I knew how to do it. I was like, all right, if it was a girl.
Okay, yeah.
And did you see $500 or did you see money on the ground? I was like, how much money? My heart just sank because I was like, I thought I could have this.
But at the same time, I'm glad. I'm sure you're glad that the right person got their money back.
I was like, when I left, I was like, thank goodness, because I would have had like the moral weight of it later too.
Yeah.
Of like, I just couldn't find a person. And I'm like, again, like you said, you just don't volunteer how much you found or that you found any at all. Cause somebody will come over and be like, "Oh, that was mine. That was mine."
Yeah.
And then they'll get the cops involved. It just could be nasty.
Yeah.
So if you find money, count it out, make sure you get the right count. What I was actually hoping they'd say was like 700. And then I'd be like, that's not, no.
Sorry, I didn't see $700.
But technically in my mind, I'd be like, this probably was 500 of their 700.
Yeah, probably.
But I just can't.
But yeah.
I don't know. That's moral gray ground.
You're hitting that precipice of the moral dilemma on either end.
I don't know.
Very fun.
It is interesting.
It's like uncomfortable and ticklish as far as like philosophy goes.
I know. That's why I paused, because I knew right away I was going to ask, how much money did you lose? But I was thinking, what if they lost more than this? What would I do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I didn't find $800 or whatever.
We should formulate a follow-up question in the event that somebody says they lost money, which is more than what you found. So my follow-up would be, what Well, work on me with this. So you find 500. Someone says, did you find money? How much money did you lose? I lost $700. That's very, very tough. It's like a math question with a bunch of ethics all over the place.
It is, because then what do you do? Shoot.
Well, the good news is there is no wrong answer. I mean, they both suck.
Yeah.
But none of them are morally wrong. If you choose to keep the 500 because you couldn't verify that it's hers, you did no wrongdoing. Maybe not as much justice could have been done, but you did no wrongdoing. On the other end of it, if you say, this is probably your 700, they very likely, so this is comforting, they likely are not manipulating you. Because if they happen to have asked you if you found money and it's at least as much as they lost, it is most likely theirs. The odds of it being so there's that comfort. So you're giving up your convenience for the possibility of justice.
The other thing about it is that if that happened to me, I would probably end up giving it back because, well, for sure it was not mine.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. It comes back down to that.
So you're giving a chance of justice.
Yes, like the odds of, and they're not even getting the full amount back. If they're telling the truth. Now, unfortunately, what this makes me think is because there's malevolent people. Next time someone is like, "Did you see money on the ground?" and you're like, "How much?" They would pick an abnormally high number.
I have a follow-up question.
What? They'd pick an abnormally high number just to, at the chance you found some of it, kind of thing.
But again, the odds of that are so bad.
But then also, how many people walk around and ask, "Did you happen to find money on the ground?"
Yeah, exactly. So I would feel pretty safe.
I would too.
But here's a question. This might be in the right direction of thinking. Did you happen to see money on the ground? How much did you lose? $700. What kind of bills were they?
Okay, that's a good one.
That's a good one. What kind of bills were they? Because
what were the denominations?
Again, they could guess, but if they, again, the odds that this is their money is high. And then she says $100 bills. It's even higher now.
That is true.
So what kind of bills?
That's a really great follow-up. That might be the only follow-up that doesn't reveal what's going on.
And again, when you ask these questions or you're playing this whatever game, you never admit to anything. You don't admit that you saw money, that you have money.
Nope.
It's very important. This isn't because you're selfish, it's just because you're trying to prevent someone from stealing money.
Because then you find the actual person who's looking for their money, you gave it to someone else and trying to be the right thing. No, the right thing to do is actually to be ambiguous at first. It's like, what did you lose precisely? And what denomination is a great question.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that.
Cool. Well, now if I find cash, I'll be like, I'm ready.
Yes.
If someone comes up to me and asks.
Yeah.
There are probably smart people who have already deduced exactly what to do in a situation like this. And they've thought of probably it's like a great YouTube video showing what to do if you find cash. And
there's a lot of those stupid videos.
But it's more fun to think of it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and also do you see all those dumb staged videos where they've got the briefcase full of money and then they drop it and the money falls out and then the people behind them, what are they going to do? Those ones drive me nuts.
I haven't seen it, but I can imagine how
they're so stupid because the idea that a person would drop their briefcase full of money and not know that they dropped it and keep walking.
Right.
If I saw a person drop briefcase full of money and money spills everywhere and they just kept walking, I'd be like,
camera.
Yeah, that's what, because there'd be no way.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Of course you'd be like, hey, you dropped this, you idiot.
Yeah, you dumbass.
Yeah. This is freaking money. Now, the ones that make a little more sense are the ones where they put it down, they eat their lunch, then they get up and leave it.
Right.
I get that one because that happens sometimes at least. And then you can, that's when it's a little bit more, some people might be able to they don't even know they left it kind of thing. I could see why those people would take it.
Interesting moral question. So here's one. I know there was a video of it. I must have seen part of it to know that this existed. They had an adult male and a child girl, little girl. And all she had to do was in a public space, like on a street, he'd grab her by the arm and she just has to yell, "You're not my dad," over and over again. I'm like, interesting idea.
That dude could get killed.
Probably a horrible thing to actually do, even for a practice as an experiment. Yeah. Interesting idea though. So let's remove the fact that this is a test. You're the test subject. You see, unfortunately, I know what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's right or not. This is just me as a person. If I saw that, I'd be like, I'm not even going to mess with it. Now, unfortunately, I should say unfortunately, as is the case, I am like most people.
You wouldn't mess with that if you saw a
Nope,
little girl
because
be like,
I'm
"You're
like-
not my dad."
I'm like, I don't trust her. That's my thought. But more importantly, I posed this question like yesterday, like as a joke. Oh man, a better question. The train track question you give to your kids. You have a fork in the train track. On this fork, you have 5 people tied down. This is one person. The train is heading for 5. You can divert it to the one person.
Yeah.
That's that question.
Yeah.
And I said, what did I say? People, which one? And my answer is I don't touch the lever. I don't mess with it. That's where I am. My choice. And again, it's not that I think it's right. That's just me as a person. That's my default. I'm not ready to argue why that's right or wrong. And I think what's fun about questions like that is there is no right answer. I don't think. I think that's the point. It's just.
And there's actually, there are 2 right answers. There's both no one right answer, and there are 2 right. Because it's so that's like one of the most complicated theoreticals that people have been trying to work out the moral problems for a long time.
Yeah, it's a
like
philosophy question.
Yeah. No, they had The Good Place, the show. They focused on that one a lot. Like the whole idea of, do you intervene to cause less damage? What's more moral? Because then that makes you less moral. And so you're basically sacrificing your own
There's
moral.
arguments for and against in every case. In my case, my argument for is that I'm not culpable, but then the argument against is actually you are. By not touching the lever, you are in a way responsible.
Yeah.
And I go, but technically and legally I'm not, just morally.
It's so crazy.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It's fun.
Well, if I saw a little girl who was yelling, "You're not my dad, you're not my dad," I would go look. I would check it out at least. And if
I'd probably watch, but I don't know if I'd be ready to ask.
I'm not gonna go beat him up. I'm gonna go look at it, because sometimes kids act up and they say stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not very commonly, but so if I would be like, all right, I got to see something to prove that because if you're kidnapping a girl, you're gonna make like you're gonna do. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it either. It's just an interesting. It is an interesting question, though.
I think it's in that situation. It's a no doubter. You have to do something, because you do not want it on your head that this little girl can get like sold into sex slavery or something.
Valid point.
That could be on you to stop it. So
the train track is easier. I think it's similar.
No, you have to check it out at least. You gotta ask. Okay, you gotta show me some proof.
The girl one's way more complicated. I mean, there's just so many more variables as opposed to the train one. It's like A, B, C, or D.
But you know what the first step is, and that is, don't let him take the girl like into a van or something. Like you gotta go follow him. You gotta go watch for a while. You gotta call the police. I even think that's acceptable. Call the police and say, I'm watching this guy take this girl.
That'd be
because it's not my job to figure out it's his daughter, but the police.
That'd be really acceptable.
Yeah,
maybe if it's possible, I could remove it to make it more difficult. For example, I would say what seems to make sense and is natural. You watch, call the police, get them involved, but keep an eye on them. That sounds reasonable. However, what if they're about to get into a car and you can't stop them? You can always make it more difficult. You got to stop them. Here's an example of something that was far less difficult. When I was working at Starbucks and I was working at the window, this lady came up in the back seat. There's a baby, like, I don't know how, not a year old, sitting up in the back seat. No booster seat, no seatbelt. I was like, what? And I was like, have a good day. I watched leave, and I was like, memorize that fucking plate. And I was like, I need to make a call to the police right now. I said,
did you?
Mm-hmm. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have said, you can't leave. You can't drive that car with that baby in the back. But I was like, maybe I should have done that. But I called the police and said, this car, this plate, this time left here going this direction on this road. And this is what's happening in that car. Maybe I could have done better, but like,
that's pretty good. That's scary.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Gee whiz. No, there's no question. If you watch a guy with a girl and she's saying, "You're not my dad," and he puts her into a car, you got to stop that. You got to stop that.
Or I guess my step is, I saw that you report what happened. I don't know if that's good enough though.
I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, interesting. You would rather be
if I'm
embarrassed and inconvenience him,
yes,
than the possibility of harm coming on somebody, which is fair.
Any reasonable person would not fault me for that. Like
Yeah.
if a dad and his child was misbehaving and they were saying, "You're not my dad, you're not my dad," and a man stopped him and said, "That in case that's not your girl, you got to stop here." And then I learned I was wrong. He showed me the stuff. I can be like, "Hey, I apologize for
hopefully
wasting your time," but you have to understand why.
and the dad even could hopefully understand why you would stop him, you know.
It's that.
And worst case scenario, he's mad at you for even stopping. Well, screw you.
Whatever.
Screw me for trying to help somebody, you know.
The alternative would break my heart. You can't get over the fact. Like, could you imagine if you could have stopped something like that?
It's weird because for some reason that tragedy befalling one person bothers me more than the possibility of 4 extra people dying on a train track because I didn't touch a lever. It's so arbitrary sometimes.
Yeah. No, there's no question you got to do something. There's none in my mind.
Well, some situations are far simpler.
Yes. That one I think is pretty simple. That one is.
Well, there are simpler ones.
There are certainly simple. Like if someone's got a gun, they're about to kill someone, and you can stop them. Yes, that's.
I was going to say the next situation is someone comes in a store that you're in, and they have a gun. They try to rob the place, and you have an opportunity. Like I was imagine you have like a mop. You have an opportunity to knock this guy out. There's so many variables. Like you could most likely come up behind him and hit him across the back of the head. You don't know if it's going to knock him out. If it doesn't, who's going to die as a result of that? Yeah. Just like, are you going to make it worse? That one's
easier, yeah.
Is it easier, though?
Yeah.
I mean, my answer is I'd go for it because...
I've always wanted to hit someone.
Again, there's so many questions. This guy he's just robbing the place. He's not trying to kill anybody. He's just threatening the teller with a gun, or the restaurant, whatever.
You point a gun at a person, then you can hit him.
He'll probably leave with the money, and everyone will most likely be okay. You could be making it worse by attacking him, you know?
Yes.
So it's just so
if it's a stick up, then fun. Okay, that's what you do.
That's what you're supposed to do. If it's a stick up for money, you should let it be about stuff and not risk getting anybody hurt.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which I hate doing. I'd like to do something, but people's lives are more important to me than anything else. Like even the guy getting caught. So
the bank's whole thing.
I'd be seething. I'd be so upset. Like I wish I could stop him, but
yeah,
if he leaves and the people are okay, then I should, it would suck. I think that's the right thing to do. Technically, in a situation like that where it's that simple, which is why they tell people to do that, yes. Like especially bank workers, they say just
comply.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. As I was gonna say it earlier, is like it used to be. You could shoot the guys, but they realized really quick, oh, just give them money. It's just money, and the banks get insurance for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah. There's no question that
is an easier moral situation. I think it's literally just comply. A robbery.
To me, life.
Yeah.
There's two things. When life is at risk, whether it's someone getting stolen and kidnapped for sex slavery or something, that counts as life to me. So, hey, if someone's life is in danger, you got to stop it. You got to figure out a way to
more
just
specifically,
stop it. Yeah.
When a situation like that arises, number one priority, other people's lives. Number two, my life. And then stuff.
Right.
So in a robbery, if me intervening is going to put their lives in danger, then I won't do it. But if I can get a better chance of other people living by giving up my life, for example, running into a street to get someone, push them out of the way of a car. That's an example where their life supersedes that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Order of values.
That's mine too.
That's a simple one too. Someone's standing in the street, and you have a chance to run out, get them out of the way, but you'll probably get hit, and you'll say, go for it.
And stuff to me is honestly like virtually valueless.
Yeah.
So like if someone just like give me your stuff,
lives from the equation and make it about stuff.
If a guy comes in and he shoots someone and then he says, "Give me stuff," then that becomes a little gray area. Then maybe it's like maybe he'll shoot other people, and I need to stop that. But if he says he'll shoot somebody if he doesn't get stuff, I don't know. Maybe I'd bait that one out.
I want to make this funny because give me stuff.
You get drop to the floor. I want stuff.
There's stuff. Give me that stuff.
Give me stuff. Give me that stuff.
Yeah. Give me your stuff. Like, okay, you're half scared, half and a little bit like, what's happening?
I want all your stuff right now. Yeah.
You, what stuff you got?
Yeah. I got the stuff. Yeah, well, I'm glad we sorted through all those moral dilemmas.
Yeah, it was really fun. What are we going to call that? Ownership and ethical and moral ownership. No,
dilemmas, conundrums.
the first half was about ownership, and then it was like moral dilemmas, like finding money, robbed, kidnapping.
Ethics, maybe?
Ownership and ethics? How about that?
Ownership.
It sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy. There's a whole bunch more that like those conundrums. Like, what do you do? What's the proper thing to do? I think
there are words for those moral conundrums, like the train track. I think there's a word for it. I wonder what that is. But whatever.
it's a thought. It's a thought experiment.
Kinda.
It's like a
Moral exercise.
philosophical thought experiment. It's a philosophy question. That's correct. Yeah. I don't remember what it is. It's a conundrum. It has a name too. There's some philosopher who named it after him because he came up with it. The train track. So the 5 people and switching the track to a single person.
Or whatever the number was. I think it's 5 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's right. I wish I could remember the name. I used to know it. But
there's so many questions. How many people have to be on that one side in order to justify switching over to one person?
Yeah. Is it 4 and 5?
Does it need to be 100 people before you decide to switch the lever? Yeah. Like, it's fun.
It is.
It's so uncomfortable that it's fun.
Yeah. There's a great that show The Good Place talks about it for like more than an episode because they focus on it for a while, and I like their attitude about it because they produce it because the guy's an angel and he can just like make scenarios, and he actually puts people on the tracks, and the whole thing is like surrounded by the philosophy character. His name's Chidi, and he basically is indecisive by nature, and he's obsessed with philosophy, and they're trying to get him. He's like, well, one thing I want to do in life, and I think what would make me a better person is become more decisive. And he goes, okay. And he puts him on the chair.
That's really funny.
It's great. And he's like, all right, pick which one. He's like, ah! It's a really funny scene.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he puts him on the chair. Like immediately, it's
that's great.
And you see it.
See, mine is don't touch, don't intervene. Which I hope that's right.
You can cross-examine both forever, because if you don't change it, then the moral responsibility is on you for killing those 5 people because you didn't change it. Yeah. But it also isn't on you because we can. There's it literally. You can go back and forth. It's very circular.
It's very fun as long as it's whatever you call it, a theory or a thought experiment. It's not real. As long as it's just a thought, it's a fun thought.
Yeah,
I guess.
There's also like, the thing I don't like about it is that there's like that sense of there's these 5 people on the tracks and there's no chance that they'll move, and they won't move. There's also the other complicating factors of
always add and remove variables.
The odds that they move would be, let's say the odds that one person would move are less than the 5 people would move. You know, there's what
I think is most fun about that is changing the variables, removing and adding, and to the point where the decision is split more as 50-50 as possible.
I think as it is, it's about as 50-50 as you can get. Because it's like, it's either way, it's your choice. And then, I don't know. It's
fun.
Action causes the direct death of a person who wouldn't have died with inaction. And so that's what's so interesting. Yes.
Neutral gin.
All right.
Well, actually, there's 37. Right. But we'll just focus on the 3.
It's your show, so end it for all time.
Okay. Next time, we should do impressions. We should think of impressions because those make great highlights.
I haven't done it in like 50 years.
Yeah, they make great highlights, and we're so talented at impressions and everything else that we should do it.
My talent is being the most humble, more humble than you specifically.
Yeah, for sure. You are so humble. Okay.
Third camera over there.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to 90 radio station. I'm Reggie. Reggie, and this is my co-host Ben, and we are from the band Air Traffic Controllers. Go check out our new single on iTunes, and it is this one again.
Back Up, playing now on iTunes.
Back Up. Beautiful girl.
AM, FM radio control tower group.
Back up, you beautiful girl.